Hi guys, it is week 39 Project Life, and I thought today I would do a 5 favorite things because I don't have any design team kits that I need to use, but I do have plenty of stuff that I'd love to put on a page. So let me go and pull out my things and I'll show you what I've got. So this week I have grabbed out the All Heart 6x8 paper pad. I've got the stamp collaboration between Retro Hip Mama and a Citrus Twist. I've got some Amy Tangerine cards and envelopes and some very old puffy stickers from Citrus Twist, as well as a pack of Simple Stories alphas. Now, as usual, I am starting with my photos. I didn't have a huge amount this week. It was a bit of a cracker of a week, to be honest, and taking photos sort of fell by the wayside. So I've got the few that I took, and I'm just going to start by picking out some papers. I did have an idea, since I didn't have that many photos, of maybe doing like a shaker pocket. And that's about it as far as my ideas go. So I'm just going to go through and pull out some of the maybe lesser busy papers, just to go with that kind of subtle color scheme that I've got. So I really liked this paper here with the kind of notebook top to it for my title card. Just trimmed that down to 4x6. I've got a couple of other papers picked out, but it occurred to me that there might be some cards I could use in the card and envelope pack. So I'm just going to pull that out and go through it. There's some strange little pieces in here, like this weird sort of confetti envelope, but inside the envelope was quite a fun sort of plain white printed card. It's got a little yellow dot border around it. It's not quite 4x6, but I think I'm going to use that. And the other piece I pulled out was this, it looks like a stitched notepad. It is slightly larger than 3x4, and I think if I try to trim it down, it's going to trim off too much of the edge. So I'm going to use that for inspiration instead and probably create something very similar, but one that's actually sized for a 3x4 pocket. So I pulled the other two papers. They're both sort of starry themed, little pink stars, and the sort of whiter black and white ones. Just placed them down, and so what I'm going to do is try and trim off a piece of the note paper. There's like 3 or 4 sheets on this card, so I'm just pulled off one from the back, and I can trim it down a bit neater, and then I can pull out another pattern paper and trim that down to 3x4, and then I can make my little note card pad stitched thing on there. So because that white piece isn't quite 4x6, I'm going to add one of the busier papers behind there, and that tones it down really nicely. I still get to use that pretty pattern, but it's not quite as in your face. And when I trimmed that down, it occurred to me that actually these little branding strips at the top of the 3x4 pieces are the perfect size for creating that stitched piece along the top. So I did actually trim down this stripy one here, but I won't end up using it because it was really hard to find a 3x4 to go behind it that had enough contrast with the note paper, but also enough contrast with that little strip. Because I'm using 2 different patterns, it was sort of a bit, it didn't really work. But what I noticed from the Amy Tangerine piece is that the pattern is on the background and then the strip is actually plain. So there was this craft scrap that I had in my little stash there, and I think that's going to work much, much better. Before I get onto that though, I'm just going to, this card's super easy, I'm just going to glue the photo down. Same with this, I'm going to glue the photo onto the white card and then glue the white card onto the pattern paper. And then I'm going to end up doing my journaling on the note card. I'm going to do that through my typewriter. That was a tiny bit of a mess, and I did end up having to pull out another piece of that note paper because my typewriter ate the first one. So I used this second one, got my journaling down, slightly adhered both those pieces onto the card, and then stitched across the top with my sewing machine. And I love how that turned out. It's really fun to take inspiration from other pieces like that. Now, like I said, I had thought about doing a shaker card for this hole that I've got here, and I wanted to use a sort of snowflakey kind of theme for it, because we had a cracker of a week this week. Like I said, it wasn't the best. And the thing with this really fun stamp set from Citrus Twist is you can create all of these little sentiments yourself, and that's what I'm going to do. So even though I'm making a shaker card, I am still going to put a little sentiment on it. The thing I find with shaker cards in Project Life, because I store my albums vertically, sometimes the sequins will do kind of sort of tend to fall to the bottom of those little cards. So I'm going to stamp a sentiment at the top, so when I'm flipping through my album and all the sequins are at the bottom, I still got a little shaker, but I've got some sort of interest at the top of that. So all of these stamps work perfectly together except the tiny little sentiment there. I've just partially stamped it, so it says was quite a week. The actual sentiment said this was quite a. So either way, it still works nicely. So my whole sentiment says this week was quite a week. And then these little snowflake sequins that I was thinking about using, and the colours work out perfectly. There's kind of like a hologram and a slightly pinker tone, and I've just got the 3x4 packaging from one of the journaling card sets that comes with Citrus Twist. I don't need the whole pocket piece, so I'm just trimming off one side of that, and I've added a few sequins, and then I'm just going to stitch around that with my sewing machine. And my sewing machine does struggle a little bit with that sort of thinner plastic, and there is a little bit of a pucker on one of the corners, but it actually makes no difference at all. In fact, I kind of think it makes it easier for the sequins to shake around. There's a little bit of sort of air space in there, so just trimmed off the excess plastic there, and that's my little shaker card all done. And since I had this stamp set out, I'm going to work on my title card. This stamp set is perfect for that sort of thing. I've been looking for something like this for so long, with all of these different weeks. Just absolutely brilliant. So I grabbed a bigger block, and I am going to use some Gina K amalgam ink. I wanted it a little bit blacker than my Memento does, so I grabbed that out, and I've just stamped out week, and there's another little stamp on here that says hello, and I thought that would be quite cute to stack on top of the week. So I grabbed out one of my Catherine Pooler inks, I think it's Peach Bellini, just to add the word and a little bit of colour, but not take away from the actual title itself. There's no numbers on this set, and I didn't pull out a stamp set of numbers. Actually, I don't have a stamp set of numbers, something I need quite desperately. So instead, I'm just going to use some of the numerals from the alpha pack that I've got here. Couldn't decide which colour. In the end, I went for pink. I was trying to avoid being too pinky pink this week, but the title card's kind of peachy toned, and then I've got that super pink shaker card, so I decided that the pink would work out alright. I'm not adding a label or anything fancy for my date stamping this week. I'm just going to chuck both dates directly under the title there, and then probably just add a little puffy sticker. It kind of felt a bit plain on its own, and it took me ages to decide if I wanted to use a coloured one or not. The colours in these stickers are a little bit more saturated than probably anything else on the page, so they sort of stuck out a bit like sort of sore thumbs. So in the end, I just went for a big white one, and it's really subtle and exactly what I wanted. And I don't have a lot else to do this week, so I'm just going to really simply use these alpha stickers and a little bit of stamping to decorate my other photos. I love these grey ones. Again, that sort of subtler look is what's happening this week, so I'm just going to spell out nom nom on the side of my photos here. I ended up having lunch at my desk one day, and I looked down, and both these little furries were begging their heads off for some of my lunch, so luckily I had my camera nearby so I could take a photo. It was very cute. Then eventually I'm going to grab that same stamp set again to stamp on my bottom left hand photo. There's a really fun scripty font that says today, which seemed perfect for this really pretty sky photo after the rain and the snow. Yep, snow. And I tried to use that Gina K amalgam ink, and it did not work even remotely. I normally use this tuxedo Memento black, Memento tuxedo black. I just figured all inks are equal. They definitely are not. So I grabbed that out and stamped it over the top. It's not exactly in the right place, but it kind of looks like it's got a drop shadow, so it does sort of work. The Gina K ink, however, does not snap on photos very well. I added a couple of puffy hearts, and then I'm just going to do the same sort of treatment on this photo of Shane and Lil. I'm going to use these alphas in the peach color to spell out oops down the bottom. But I did have a total mind blank and had to go and look up how you spell oops. I have a feeling that the last time I did it on Project Life, I spelled it wrong, and I think I spelled ops. So I wanted to doubly make sure that I was getting it right. I wondered about adding a little heart, but it's already pretty busy without a heart, so I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm going to put the heart on this photo here instead. This was me in the middle of filming, accidentally took a photo instead of pressing record on the camera. So it worked out nicely. I kind of like how it's composed anyway. So I'm just going to put... it's more of a note to self, I guess, sort of how I was getting through the week was I can do this. So I'm just going to spell out the little words, the little phrase on either side of the heart. Since the photo was very centered, I wanted the sentiment to be really centered too. So I'm just eyeballing it. I had to change it. I was going to put you can do it, and it actually makes more sense to say I can do it. I'm talking about myself. So it all ends up very nicely balanced, and I love how this week turned out. These 5 favorite things layouts are just about always my favorite. I love having a limited choice of things to use, and I love being able to use up some of my stash. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there's a couple more videos on screen, or why not check out my Patreon page? There are even more videos over there. Otherwise, I'll see you guys really soon. Bye.